So if you found a really good brand that's a box or a can of tomato basil soup that you just love, that you think is the most flavorful thing ever, you don't need this. Stick with that. I just haven't found one that to me has a rich, deep, yummy flavor. I mean, it'll do in a pinch, but so even if I'm using a can or a box of something, I have to fiddle with it to make it taste just a little bit better. So normally this is a box, like, right, 32 ounces, and it says roasted red pepper and tomato soup, because I love roasted red pepper in with the tomato and the basil. It just, again, it's another layer of flavor. It's another type of flavor. And so if I'm starting with the cheap method, the first thing I would do is get either like just a tomato soup or a roasted, like I said, this is roasted red pepper, and I love that too. Anyway, I would cut up an onion and some garlic and saute that first. But I would chop it up very fine or use an immersion blender when we get done. I would do that. But I'm gonna give you the lazy recipe first, okay? Here's the lazy recipe. So the lazy recipe is, we're gonna dump. Don't you like dumping? We're gonna dump this in, and this has a decent orange color. I will use the spoon so you can see the decent orange color. And some of that is from the roasted red pepper, okay? And some of it is because they've added milk or cream or some. When you like tomato basil soup, do you like a regular tomato basil soup? You know, just, it's like a red with the green? Or are you a creamy tomato basil soup? That will help me as I'm making this. Now, if I'm doing this, I just need one more layer of flavor. So I'm gonna add a can of crushed tomatoes. These are just crushed tomatoes. If all you have is diced tomatoes, you can use that, but then what you wanna do is, like I said, if you sauteed onions and garlic, then you're gonna need a stick or an immersion blender to puree that up, because you don't really want, tomato basil soup traditionally does not have big old chunks in it, okay? Now, because this is what it is, it just needs a kick. So you have some options. Italian seasoning. Okay, so you can put that in there, and I will, just for kicks and giggles, right? So I would put like a half a teaspoon of that in there. Now this has stuff in it. This has two things in it that I don't like. That's why I didn't put very much. It has rosemary and it has sage. I don't like rosemary and I don't like sage. So there you go. But then I would add a whole teaspoon of powdered or granulated garlic, okay? Because tomatoes need garlic. Then I would add, because we're not making it from scratch, onion powder, okay? And I would add a teaspoon of onion powder. I love both. I've never made either. It's very easy. Creamy. Everybody's creamy. You creamy people. Creamy. Okay, so a teaspoon of garlic powder and a teaspoon of onion powder. Just for an extra little kick, a little smoked paprika. Because remember, this has roasted red pepper in. So I'd put like a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. Remember, smoked, not the other kind. And then I'm just gonna give this a stir. Now this already had cream in it. You could tell because it was like I said, kind of an orangey color. And if you read the ingredient list, it had it in there. Now, this is all good and well. It's okay. It's all good and well, but still, we gotta add something else. I gotta move. I'm having I almost was late this morning. I looked down and went, oh my gosh, it's almost 11 o'clock. Losing my marbles. All right, so because this has to be tomato basil soup, and I know that maybe you're like, oh, well, can I just use the Italian seasoning or dried basil? You can, but it's just really not the same flavor. And this is so easy to find. I mean, really, even the produce departments at like Walmart, if you lived in a really small town and you didn't have very much choice on grocery stores, pretty much everybody has basil. Or you can go to the garden center and get a small basil plant. I mean, right now at our Kroger, I don't know about H-E-B, but at Kroger, they have all these plants outside. Okay, so I just used about 6 big leaves, and I'm gonna put that in there. Just like that. La la la. Okay, now, now it smells better. Now I might be a little happier. Okay, so that's our color. I'm gonna put this on the stove and heat it up, and then we're gonna start the real one. The real one. But that's your easy one. So all you have to do is bring this to, I would bring this to a low boil, put it on medium-high heat, then turn it down to simmer, put the lid on it, and let it simmer for about 30 minutes. Only because we've added dry spices and we need those to meld in and the flavors all to meld together. Okay? So we're gonna put this on the stove. If I can get the stove to work. Okay, there we go. All right, it's on the stove. Now we're gonna do the real one. And really, it's not gonna take us that much longer than the other one did, okay? Now, again, I'm gonna take some basil. I love basil. I love, love, love basil. Okay, and I'm just gonna use all the basil I have. What do I have? I have like, I don't know, 10 or so big leaves. See how big those leaves are? Big, I tell you. Big, big, big. Did anybody say not creamy? I don't like rosemary or sage either. We have similar, we do, Sherilyn, I know. Good morning, Sue. Nobody likes it just regular. Good. I just know that some people have, lactose intolerant or whatever, and so then the milk would be hard for them. I will give you, if you like a thinner, okay, here's another question because that will determine what else I put in here. Do you like a thinner broth, a thinner tomato basil soup, or do you like it to have just a little bit of body? There's something for you. So, all right, I'm gonna take some of these out and save it for garnish. And then the rest, look at this. I'm turning you. Mongo blender. Because, take the lid off, because what we did, let me get what we did this morning. Hold on, you ready? I took, kind of looks messy and icky right now, doesn't it? This was 8 tomatoes that were quartered. 8 tomatoes quartered, 1 onion, I probably cut it in half and then quartered that. And then we're gonna, I would say put garlic on here, but remember our episode of roasted garlic? So I still have roasted garlic left over, so I'm gonna use that. I put this in the oven. I roasted these 400 degrees for about 45 minutes. And you can see they're all like smooshy. I like smooshy. What kind of tomatoes you say? The smaller the tomato, while I talk, I'm gonna put this in the blender, okay? Ooh, yum. And it just, smells so good. The smaller the tomato, the faster it will cook. It'll break down. So maybe you don't need the whole hour. Just keep an eye on it and you'll see they'll smush out and they'll start releasing juice. The reason Roma tomatoes are good, they're small. You can half those or quarter these. These were not Roma tomatoes and they were not beefsteak tomatoes. I would kind of tend to stay away from beefsteak tomatoes. They don't tend to have as much juice as the smaller ones. The reason these were like not a Roma, but not the real big beefsteak. They were like the ones on the vine and they were about that big. And the reason I chose that is because that was what was in my crisper and they were getting a little mushy. So there was nothing wrong with them, right? There's nothing wrong with the tomatoes. It's just that, when you want a sandwich, you want to slice it and it's all, right? So if you would have sliced it, there were some mushy spots. Okay, so that was all of our tomatoes and our onion. Normally, you would put, if you didn't have roasted garlic, which we made, then you would put some garlic on there and let that roast. All I did is coat everything in olive oil. So I cut all the veggies up, the tomatoes, the onions, and let's say the garlic. And I did a red bell pepper because I just think that goes, the red bell pepper. I cut all that up in smaller chunks. I coated it all with olive oil, salt and pepper, 400-degree oven for about 45 minutes. And that's what it turns out to be. Now, I'm going to add about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, well. I'm going to add about 4 or 5 cloves of roasted garlic. You can add as much or as little as you want, okay? Now, I'm going to add all this lovely basil. Am I? Yes, I'm going to add all the basil. I go back and forth to liking to see bigger chunks of basil. Oh, a tomato escaped. Oh no, that's a roasted red pepper. So I knew somebody escaped. Okay. I need a little bit of oil. No, I'm gonna use some vegetable broth because that's what else I'm gonna put in there. So I'm just gonna put a splash of vegetable broth in the blender just so we've got some liquid in there. Okay, is that everything in there? 1, 2, 3. Yes, okay. We don't need onion powder because we used an onion. We don't need garlic powder because we used garlic. We don't need the Italian stuff because we have fresh basil. Okay, big noise. Cover your ears. Ready? Big noise. I could be singing a song and you wouldn't know. And you would go, thank goodness. Hello, Susan. How are you? Thicker, a little body, but no chunks. I agree, no chunks. Body. Oh, I can smell it. Can you? Okay, so if you want it with a little body, here's the trick. There's a trick. Hold on, I gotta get my big pot. Big pot. Do I need to cut anything else up? I think not. Okay, big pot. Here's the trick. Once we get all your soup in there, right? All of your liquidy stuff. If you find that the soup is a little too liquid for you, do it a teaspoon at a time, but a teaspoon and then maybe you work up to a tablespoon of instant mashed potato flakes. Oh. Yeah, but sprinkle it in there and then give it, okay, so what that does, it gives it a little thickener, it gives a little body to it, and you really haven't had to do anything except reach in the cabinet and get some instant potato flakes, if you have instant potato flakes. So there you go. Did you know that? Did you know that? Okay. Oh, gosh, you just want to lick the lid. That would probably be inappropriate, right? Okay. I'm just making a big old mess. Ugh. Goodbye. All right, can you see? Oh, look at that. Isn't that a pretty color? Oh, so pretty. Oh, so pretty. Except I need to dig. Let me just continue to make mess. Cindy making mess everywhere. All right, now I don't want to lose any of this, so I'm going to dig out. If you don't have, always a blender. You can use a food processor. You can put all of this in your pot and use your stick blender. It's harder because these are a little bit bigger chunks, when you're starting the tomato and the onion. And so for me, it's just easier to stick it all in the blender and go. Oh, look, see, I don't want to lose, even from the lid. Let me scrape from the lid. Okay, there we go. Now, to this is too thick. You might not think so, but it is. So we're gonna add the rest of the vegetable broth. Now this is 32 ounces, and this might get you to a place where you think it is, well, I may not need it all. Hold on. It is too thin. Hold on, let me give it a stir. Yum. Yum. No, it's not. Okay, adding the whole thing. You're gonna say it's too thin, but I'm gonna say no. And if it is, we're gonna add potato flakes and it'll be fine, okay? This will thicken up somewhat. Now the only salt that I added so far has been, and this says less sodium or some such silliness, was when I salted the tomatoes. Tomatoes always need salt. I don't care what you say. So I am gonna add, well, I say I'm gonna add salt, but maybe I'm not. Would you eat that star? Okay, so I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of salt, because we need it. And this will kind of freak you out. Butter. I'm gonna add a tablespoon of butter. I just think you need the fat. I think you need just a little, okay? So the butter will melt. Now, it is a very thin soup. It will thicken up somewhat as we bring it to a boil. Is that all I need to do on that? Yes. All right, so I'm gonna put this on the stove and bring it to a boil. I'll be right back. Okay, while that is being brought to a boil, you're like, okay, well, I'm underwhelmed so far. Okay, I made homemade stuff. And quite frankly, that we made, roasting the tomatoes and the onions and the garlic, that is an excellent sauce. And this will keep in the refrigerator for a whole week. So you could use that as a basis for a thick marinara. You could do that as a dipping sauce for, cheese sticks or chicken nuggets or something like that. You can put it over pasta just the way it is, right? Just what we did just there without adding the vegetable broth. You could use that and pour that over pasta because that's really thicker than until I added the vegetable broth, okay? But then you say, Cindy, what about those little grilled cheese sandwiches you promised us? Where are those? Okay, so while that's I know butter's always a good option. While that's cooking, we gotta bring that to a boil. I will show you my grilled cheese croutons. Now, this is what you're looking for. I know it's backwards. It says mini toast. That's what it says. I'll get one out. Mini toast. Is that the cutest little thing you've ever seen in your life? It looks like a little baby piece of bread. And these are usually in the deli by the produce section or by your crackers. But anyway, little baby toasts. Is that so cute? So I did this for a dinner I did one year. Good morning, Vicki. And everybody went, oh my gosh, that's so cute. So here's how easy it is to make grilled cheese croutons. These are already hard. These are more like Melba toast. This could be a crouton all by itself. But once I took my roasted vegetables out of the oven, remember 400 degrees. I turned it off and then I just stuck a baking sheet with my little grilled cheese sandwiches in. So this is all you have to do. So easy, so easy. You take 2 of the pieces of baby bread. Baby bread, is the baby bread so cute? Come on, tell me you love the baby bread. Okay, then you take a piece of American cheese. I know, but a grilled cheese sandwich, right? But you can use cheddar cheese, you can use Havrod, you can use pepper jack, whatever you like, okay? But American cheese in the little plastic, right? And you can cut it into 9 pieces. So what I did is, it's a square, so I cut it into thirds this way, and then I turned it and I cut it into thirds this way. And that gives you 9 baby pieces of cheese. Is that the cutest thing ever? So you take your little piece of bread and you put your little baby cheese on there. Look at that, look. And then you put the lid on it. That's it. Look, little baby grilled cheese. All right, so I had the cookie sheet, or the baking sheet. And, okay, tell me you've done this. We'll go back and watch on, oh, there you go. Okay, Vicki. Baby bread, isn't it cute? Okay, so then, remember, my oven's already hot. It was at 400 degrees. These don't take any time because it's already hard, right? So you just put it in the oven. I did it on parchment paper, but, that's just me. And really, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I turned the oven off. Remember, it was at 400. I turned the oven off. I took out the roasted tomatoes and stuff, and then I put this cookie sheet in. The oven is off, but it still has all that heat. And 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, I took it out, and look what I have. They're a little toasted, and the cheese is melted, so they don't come apart. They don't come apart. Is that the cutest thing ever? So you have your tomato basil soup, and then those little baby grilled cheeses. I think those are so cute. Hold on, I gotta stir. Stuff is boiling. Stuff is cooking. Okay. Let me turn this off. Okay. It's not been a whole 30 minutes, but we're close enough. This is our cheat soup, right? This is our cheat soup. Oh, you know what I forgot to add? I forgot to add my half and half. I'm gonna go add my half and half to the big pot. You're gonna need between a quarter cup and a half a cup, depending on what color you like it, right? So if you like a darker color or a lighter color, that's what we'll get. See if I have another can of crushed tomatoes. Oh, okay. Oh, I can't get it open. Oh, okay, I got it open. I'm a wuss. If I do pour it in there. Okay. Okay. All right, so, sorry, chitty-chatting. So, I'm gonna take a bowl. Look how cute that is. Isn't that cute? A soup bowl. And it's easy to eat, so you can hold it with the handle and do this. Because you know why I like these? I missed the beginning, but I love tomato soup. Will you be posting the recipe? Of course, Anne. The recipes are, hey, Cindy. Sorry, there was a phone call. You know how when you get a bowl of soup and you're holding it, like if you're not at the table, and then your hand's hot because it's so hot? This one has a handle, so you can hold it and eat out of it. I love this, okay? I almost just want to use it as a dippy, but I'm not. All right, so this was our cheat soup, where we used a box and we jazzed it up, okay? So I'm gonna put this in here. There we go. Now, let's say you want to jazz up just a little bit more. So here's an option for you. Hold on, let me move old cheat soup out of the way. And I'm gonna take, remember when we got those like little balls of mozzarella? The little ones. So I'm gonna say, maybe we drop in a few little balls of mozzarella in that hot soup. Oh, isn't that naughty? Naughty? So those are kind of floating, but they're kind of sinking, and then they're gonna get melty. And then we're gonna take our crouton, and you can put one crouton in, or you can put a couple, okay? I'm gonna tilt you just a bit so you can see in the bowl. Can you see in the bowl? How pretty is that? Okay, so I tilted you in the bowl. So now we need to taste. Pretty good. Not as good as homemade, but okay. If you're in a pinch, there you go. All right, we're gonna move that one over there. We're gonna need another bowl, aren't we? Now again, I really would prefer my soup to cook a little bit longer. That being said, we're on the show, so that's okay. So I'm gonna come over here and get my soup. Now you're gonna ask what I'm gonna do with all this soup, and what I'm gonna tell you is, I gotta turn that off. I'm gonna take the yucky soup, the okay soup, and I'm gonna pour it in mine. Okay, so this is a thinner soup. Can you see? It's a thinner. So if we want to thicken it up just a little bit, we can put, like I said, a teaspoon. Why does this not go away? Go away, voicemail. Okay. It's okay, it's lunchtime. I know. The Madeline jar wasn't big enough. Mason jar wasn't big for the 5 of us. I can't, well, oh, that's funny. Anyway, the La Madeline jar. I know what you're talking about. La Madeline's tomato basil soup was awesome. That and their cream of mushroom soup. Oh, yes. Anyway, so it is a thinner soup, right? I went ahead and added, I need my stick blender. Hold on one second. Okay, so this is either called a stick blender or an immersion blender, okay? Remember I told you last time that I have had this? We got this as a wedding present. It's Westinghouse. I don't even know if this company still exists or they still make these. And it makes a horrible high-pitched sound. I went ahead and added a can of diced tomatoes in here because I'm doing something else with this, so I'm gonna show you. Ready? It's bad. I think I need a new one. Oh. So if you'd sauteed onions and garlic on the cheap version, oh, there we go, it went away. Then you would need to do this if you didn't put it in the blender. If you have hot soup, sometimes it's better to use the immersion blender if you have one, because pouring hot soup in a blender never turns out well. I have always spilled it on myself, or it popped out the top, or something happened. So the immersion blender for me is a key thing. Ta-da! All kinds of tools, right? Hello, Nancy. It will also, oh, it's also on the YouTube page, yes. All right, so now that is an option. Now you already saw what tomato basil soup looks like, right? What if we amp this up just a little bit, right? So we can make it a soup, and you saw what we could do, but what if we took this tomato basil soup, oh, wait. What if we did that, and then we put in some tortellini? Oh, yay, yay. Now my youngest daughter is gonna be so excited. Now, I used a bag of frozen tortellini just filled with cheese, but they also have it on the aisle where they have, this is cheese and spinach, but you know, so it's dried. The dried obviously take longer to cook than the one in the bag, the frozen bag. They probably have some in the refrigerated section that I'm unaware of. And so this is, ooh, so it was like, says a 19-ounce bag of frozen tortellini. But if you don't have it in your frozen food section, well, this is a 12-ounce bag of dried tortellini. Now you say, well, could I use ravioli instead of tortellini? I'm gonna tell you why I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, it's your kitchen. It's your kitchen. You can make whatever you want. But when we're coming from my kitchen to your kitchen, ravioli, when it cooks, it expands, right? And so if you leave it in a sauce or in the water too long, what happens then is the cheese starts oozing out from the seams, you know, where it's pressed together. And so then pretty much what you're left with is 2 pieces of flat pasta, and the cheese is all kind of out into the, now it makes the sauce taste okay, but it's not really a ravioli anymore. It's just flat pasta. Tortellini's a little hardier, and it doesn't fall apart like that. And so for me, if you're gonna use it in soups, tortellini is the way to go, okay? So how about we take our soup, oh yay, and I just boiled the tortellini, okay? And we put that in there. Oh, now, because you know what, some men, well, some women too, some people, it's just the thin soup. You're like, that's it, that's for dinner. There's no chewing involved. And so sometimes soups like this, which are comforting, I agree, but you feel like you need a sandwich or a salad or something to go with it. And so if we put in the tortellini, look at that. If we put in the tortellini, now suddenly it's a meal. Now, you want to go one step further? Let's say that somebody in your family says, not Kat, not my friend Kat who's watching, but somebody in your family says, where's the meat? Where is the meat? Okay, so maybe you're like me. Well, I say maybe you're like me. Hold on. There we go. I just had to dig. I knew they were in here somewhere. Maybe you're like me and you have a bag of frozen meatballs in your freezer. Do you have a bag of frozen meatballs in your freezer? Can I shut it all the way? Yes. If you do, you can defrost these, or you can put them in here while the soup's cooking and they'll cook. And then suddenly you have meatballs and tortillas. So I'm gonna dump them in. There we go. Oops, come out of the bag. There we go. All right, so now it's this whole meal. We went from a very light soup, but very dainty, that we would have, ladies, we would have a little tomato basil soup, maybe a little nice salad to go with that. We went from that to tortellini. Now, if you don't eat meat, that's hearty all by itself. But then we went ahead and added meatballs to it, and we really didn't cook anything, okay? Now, those meatballs are frozen, so I'm not gonna put any in this bowl, but the tortellini's cooked. So I'm gonna fill my bowl, hold on. Oh, so good. All right, now on this one, maybe, on the other one, remember we put those big chunks of mozzarella in there. So maybe on this one instead, this is shaved Parmesan, but if you don't have shaved Parmesan, it's just what I bought in the deli. So if you want to see, it's like shavings, right? It's shaved off. If you have a big piece of Parmesan, you could grate it up. If you just have a shaker of Parmesan cheese, you can use that. But so we might put some of the cheese shavings on top. And then of course, we need to add our little baby crouton, our grilled cheese crouton. Okay, so now I'm tasting this because I already know. Ready? Oh my God. See, there's such a big difference. There's such a big difference in roasting the vegetables. And really, it takes you no time. You get out your tomatoes and your onions. Chop, 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 chop. And your garlic. Put it on a cookie sheet. I didn't even toss it with olive oil. I took the canola oil spray that you're supposed to spray the bottom of the pan with, and I sprayed all the vegetables. I put salt and pepper and shoved it in the 400-degree oven. And 45 minutes later, almost an hour, I took them out and set them there. I had put together my grilled cheese sandwiches, and I put those in for 2 minutes, just until the cheese melted. That was it. Poof! And then all we did was put it in a blender, and we added some stock. So good. Now you ask, what am I going to do with the icky soup? Well, it's not so icky that I would throw it away, and I'm feeding my house and their house. So it's going to be additional soup. So I'm just going to add that to that. And now I have a lot of soup. I have a lot of soup, I have tortellini, and I have meatballs. And that means the boys are happy and the girls are happy. How exciting is that? I know it was kind of a funky show today, right? Just a little different. I think these little toasts, and quite frankly, you can make a bunch of them and put them on the side. And you can put several in your big bowl, if you have a big bowl, and put those in there. I just think they're darling. You can put all kinds of cheese on there. So you can use them as, you can put garlic butter on top of them. Oh, I didn't even do that. That would be good too, right? So we have, let me go that way. It's good, right? Hey, Kelly. Hey, Vicky. So there, we're done. Wait, let me move big old pot of soup back onto the stove, because now I actually have to cook those meatballs. All right, and the immersion blender. We had so many. Look, we had a cutting board. We had the blender, the big Ninja. I have a big old mess. And then we had the immersion blender. Okay, because it just depended on what you made. All right, so again, this one was the store-bought soup that we jazzed up with onion powder, garlic powder, fresh basil. And let's use the rest of the fresh basil, and we can just drizzle on top. I mean, you know what? Presentation, we do eat with our eyes, right? We do eat with our eyes. And so, a little bit more. There's never such thing as too much basil. Just use the rest of it. And then we topped it. This one, we put in 3 of the little balls of mozzarella that come either in oil or water. Put those little bitty ones in here so they're all melty. And then we put our grilled cheese croutons that we made on top. So that's the one soup we made. And then we made the homemade soup where we did everything. We roasted everything, put it all together in the blender. We added some stock and then our fresh basil, yum, and some heavy cream. We added some heavy cream to that. And then we topped that with some Parmesan flakes and fresh basil, and again, our little crouton. So there you go. We had a big day. We made from scratch or from the box or from the can, whichever is easiest or floats your boat. I do hope you give it a shot on the roasting everything. There's such a big flavor difference in doing the roasted tomatoes and things from scratch. Tomorrow, I'm kind of excited. Tomorrow, it's another no meat day. I don't know what it is about this week about no meat. It's not like I'm on a meat thing, but tomorrow tomorrow we're gonna do all kinds of roasted vegetables, like a bunch of different kinds of roasted vegetables. And then we're gonna do several sauces, because some people are like, well, okay, that's just vegetables. But we're gonna do several of the sauces, so you can make the sauces and you can have different ones, so people can choose to drizzle whatever sauce they want on whatever vegetable you roasted. So tune in tomorrow at 11 o'clock. From my kitchen to yours, I hope today was comforting and warm and yummy and quick, and that you learned a little bit. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Have a great day.